Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way, and today is Monday. Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way, and today is Higher Minds Monday. All right, chapter 16, that is where we left off, isn't it? What was it the prophets learned at the mystery schools in Egypt and with the Essenes? They arrived at the school as children and spent 20 to 30 years there. Most of the great prophets you hear were graduates from one of these schools. So was Yeshua, I can't say that, Jesus. We know his name was not Jesus because the letter J was invented by the Pope over 1,000 years later. And the spelling of the name, what is that?
Halashimi,
Okay, is disputed also. He was also called Yeshua ben Joseph and Yeshua Nazarene. He spent well over 10 years with the Essenes. The Roman records show that Joshua was a rebel. He tried to create an uprising by the Jews against the Romans to drive them out of Judea. Many Jews were afraid to associate much with him because of the way he spoke out against the Romans. He is the one who, against his wishes, was claimed to be the King of Jews. When the Romans found out who he was and what he was doing, they circulated a wanted poster with his drawing and description on him, of him on it. It said he was short. I assumed he had been tall. Converted to our measures, about 5 feet tall. The Romans had the Jews really under the heel of their boot at that time, and the Jews needed something to hope for. As you know, the Romans did not like people speaking against them very much. In fact, they got really upset, rounded him up, and did unspeakable things to him. You know the story and have probably read the book about him, the Bible. And some of you have seen the movie about him, The Passion of Christ. The Essenes lasted for almost 900 years as a spiritual nomadic society managed by a council of 12 elders. About 100 BC, their leader was called the Teacher of Righteousness. He did many miracles and traveled throughout the region, claimed he was the Messiah, and taught spirituality. He was crucified about 100 BC. Many of the stories in the writings about him are identical and of the same character in detail as the stories of Yeshua. You know, there was actually over 100 Christ-like figures that were wrote about.
Correct. Yep. There were many masters that got slayed over being a master, just like witches were hung for being witches. People who had powers, literally, they went after them.
And Jesus is the one that caught on.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep.
The Essenes were isolationists, and they never got much involved in the affairs of the rest of the world. Their life was very simple. We can truly say they were in this world, but not of this world. They had few rules, no prison, no unemployment, and they had freedom for the people. There was only one restitution to pay if there was an injured party. Yeshua probably was drawn to the Essenes because his second cousin, John the Baptist, had spent a lot of time there. Where did you think Joshua disappeared to for many years? After his time in Egypt with the Essenes, he traveled a lot. He was in India, back with the Essenes in Egypt, and even in what today is France, and probably many other places. The Essenes specialized in educating healers and spiritual teachers. They learned about herbs, natural foods, substances in their environment, such as salts, minerals, and food that would be healing and life-sustaining, as well as spiritual healing. If you want to learn more about the Essenes, how their society was structured, and how they conducted themselves, and what they taught, you should get a series of books called The Essene Gospel of Peace. Blah, 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 blah. It is on the internet. Please remember the Essenes were faithful, fanatical Jews, and of course, so was the man you know as Jesus. He was not a Christian. He did not create Christianity. Nope, the Romans did.
Yep. That is so exactly from my relationship with the Lord. This is like what was shown to me my whole life. He was a rebel, and they killed him because he was going against the Romans and the Pharisees, and they literally, yeah. But he was not the first nor the last. Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to keep reading with. If there's any questions, we'll take them on the next episode chapter.
Oh, okay.
All right. We know that the one you know as Jesus spent a considerable amount of time with his saints, but there is a lot more to that story. That is the part of the story which has been hidden from the masses. This is an extremely controversial subject. It can make friends or mortal enemies. It has for some 1,978 years, so here goes. Who was Jesus? Well, we know his name was not Jesus, it was Yeshua. This Yeshua is a very elusive figure, almost bordering on a mythical character. Outside of the Bible, which first draft and general text was created in 325 and for the next few years AD in Constantinople, Turkey, there's very little to find unless you really dig. It is almost as he has been purposely removed from history. But from what there is to find, it is very much different from what we read in the Bible. There are a few scraps of records about him in the surviving Roman records. There are also a few libraries where you may find a few bits and pieces. It looks as if the scholars of the time absolutely wrote nothing about him. If he was such a phenomenal centerpiece at the time, that would be strange and unusual. It is almost as if he did not exist. But we have enough information to know that he did exist, maybe a much different person than that we are led to believe. There is one document which could solve the puzzle for us if it were to be released to the public. That is the one set of writings from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Qumran Scrolls. There is a scroll that explained the trial, conviction, and execution of Yeshua, King of Jews. I am sorry to say that many more of the writings of the Dead Sea Scrolls are in the hands of the Jews and highly classified. We would wonder why. A 2,000-year-old historical document. Then again, if the documents would speak contrary to what the Christian church teaches, it would be a nice gesture by the Jewish government to protect the Christian friends in Rome. Still, I know this document exists. Over 40 years ago in Europe, I had a translation of it. Some of it evidently slipped through their fingers before they managed to clamp down on the information. It came from Oxford University, the publishing department of Oxford University. I'm sure they still have it, or they may not want to admit that they have it. I can see why they want to protect the Catholic Church. It is a government-sanctioned church, and Oxford University is dependent on government grants. The best way would be to go there in person and start going through records. I previously said that Yeshua was a rebel and very radical in his actions and words. In fact, the document from the Dead Sea Scrolls says he was not very popular with the Jews. They thought he was dangerous and could hurt their cause. He wanted to create an uprising against the Romans and drive them out of Judea. He spoke on several occasions to crowds of people, encouraging them to take up the arms against the Romans. The Romans took a dim view of this. They paid ransom for his identification, had him arrested, and arranged for a trial. Wealthy Jews who profited from the Roman occupation helped to get him convicted. In this translation, it spoke to Yeshua as being tall, light hair as it stated, as the ripe grains of the field and blue eyes as sky of the midday. This is totally different from what we're led to believe again. Evidently, he spoke Aramaic or Hebrew, yet was not a Jew. He was an Israelite. Not the same as the Jews or the Israelite of today. There's a big difference. It went on to explain that he was crucified and left hanging for only a few hours. He had to be taken down at sunset anyway. There was a celebration the next day for Passover on the Sabbath. The Roman law stated that no one could be left crucified over Passover. It said there was rain, so the streets flooded, the sky went dark. The Roman guards got scared, so they left and went for shelter. When Yeshua's companion and friends saw there were no guards, they took him down before his time and carried him away. He was taken to a grave chamber nearby where he was revived. He was taken away by his companion, Reed wife, his children, and a few followers to live in another land. It did not specify which other land. It said only that he was taken across the sea. It did not even say which sea, but we presume it was the Mediterranean. Most likely they have traveled to what is today's France. There are records of him having been there. I know this is a little different than you are used to reading. 500 years ago, I would have been hauled before the Catholic Church Inquisition, charged with heresy, quickly tried and promptly executed if they knew I would be thinking something like this. But wait, there's more. There are some things in the surviving Roman records worth mentioning, like Yeshua's wanted poster. When the Romans found out that he was speaking to the Jews about taking up arms against them, a wanted poster with his name, description, and stated reward was circulated. He was said to be using 3 names: Yeshua Beth Halashme, Yeshua the Nazarene, and Yeshua ben Joseph. We are told he was called Jesus of Nazareth. Well, Nazareth did not even exist at that time. The term Nazarene is the name of a group of people who were radically conservative, religious, fanatical Puritans. They were a branch of the Essenes. That he was using the name Yeshua ben Joseph would be understandable, as Ben Joseph means son of Joseph. The other 2 names may be news to the first-time reader. Now the wanted poster the Romans put out described him as short, less than 5 feet in our terms of measure, walking hunched over and bald-headed. There's a big difference in description here. I have asked my source on this, and I get the answer that his friends were giving the Romans the wrong information to protect him. That makes perfect sense to me. This is turning into more revisionist history than I had intended. Keep in mind that everything that happened back there was part of the illusion also. The illusion. So don't be too concerned about it. If you really want to know what the old records outside the Bible says, you should read The Passover Plot by Hugh Schoenfield. He is a thorough researcher of the ancient texts, and he documents everything he writes about. Also read Holy Blood and Holy Grail by Henry Lincoln, Richard Lee, and Michael Badgett. Since you are on this track, there's another one which is a well of knowledge about a person who claimed to be the Messiah, did a lot of miracles, and taught spirituality and love to the people. This is the book that will uncover most of the mysteries of the old records. The title of the book is Did Jesus Live 100 BC? It was written by G.R. Mead, and no, the man he writes about was not Jesus, but the leader of the Essenes at that time. He was called the Teacher of Righteousness. He had a very large following. He also was crucified by the Romans and was seen alive after his physical death. You can put on your investigator's hat and go have some fun with that. To sum it up, non-biblical records and old writings show Jesus to be a very different person than we are told. After you have worn your investigator's hat for a while and dug up a lot of information we are not supposed to know about, you may find that Yeshua was born in 7 BC. He had 4 brothers and a couple of sisters. He spent over 10 years with the Essenes. His companion wife was Maria Magdalena. They were both of royal blood. That is why she on occasion wore a red dress, and not because she was a prostitute, as some have claimed. They had several children. He was still alive at the age of 64, but may have died at the age of 64 on a trip back to Rome, where the records show that he owned some land outside of the city wall. Barbara Thiering, in her book Jesus the Man, has some convincing research to this effect. I'm getting it. It is pretty accurate. Why am I even writing about this? Is it important since we are creating the universe we are walking around in and are totally responsible for everything in our life? Is what happened 2,000 years ago even of any importance, since it is an illusion and part of the hologram we've created? Well, maybe it is. Oh boy, I wish we could both speak Sanskrit so we could have a language to communicate in, with the capacity to transfer into words and phrases the concepts and understanding received from the universal consciousness. Here's the best I can do. There is no doubt we live in a mind-created universe. Quantum physics and spiritual science tell us so. The question for us is, how much of that creation are we willing to accept that we are capable of? The creation ranges all the way from fashioning a long stick, sharp on one end, and throwing it in at an animal to kill it, so we can have something to eat, all the way to the other end of the scale with the capability to think billions of galaxies into existence. You have probably backtracked a little bit here after reading the last sentence. Oh, why would I think that? Because I did also for a split moment when I wrote it. Just for a moment, I thought the sphere and all the galaxies were real. The solution and answers to all the questions racing around in our heads is that none of it is real. It is all part of the intelligent hologram being projected outward by the ego portion of our mind. It is all swimming around in this pool of possibilities, the soup of creation, where everything past, present, and future already exists as possibilities. We are not using all this creation all the time, especially the part of it which only exists in parallel timelines or universes, which we may never get to use consciously. Our minds create it all, including many of the spiritual experiences in the physical reality. Some of those spiritual experiences we have in our physical existence are so deeply imprinted in our mind that we wholeheartedly believe it is the real thing and the truth. This is why we have created almost 2,000 years ago have some importance. It is dangerous to the schedule of your spiritual growth to have the wrong beliefs, specifically believing something is spiritually real when it is not. Being misled by anything will slow you down. It will extend the time we need to accomplish everything we need to do in physical existence. It takes long enough to muddle through and weed out the falsehoods and lies we have been brainwashing to believing over the centuries. Then we can be left with only the truth, what and who we are at our spiritual core. When we are there, we will find we are a spiritual being, universal, with unlimited capacity of thought and manifestation as part of the all-encompassing universal consciousness, with no separation from the universal Father. When we know in our hearts, and that means minds, who we are at all times, it is not long, even in linear time, before you start experiencing the unlimited knowledge and manifestation. From there, it is only a short step to city consciousness, an unlimited creative capability. So the detours of wrong beliefs are adding an extension to our linear time experience. Therefore, in a mind-created universe, what we think about and believe is creating our reality. If we believe the falsehoods in our hologram are real, we are not going anywhere. That is why it is so important to do our own research to find falsehoods and lies so we can eliminate everything but truth from our mind. It was Winston Churchill who said, "Once in a great while, somebody may stumble over the truth, but they usually get up, dust themselves off, and muddle along again."
That is profound wisdom.
You know, it's kind of funny what we were talking about pre-show, and that whole chapter was sitting there talking about what I was been so frustrated with people regressing and things.
Yeah, and it's like, this is about discovering truth. And truth is going to look different from the different perceptions and the different paths of what you're seeking to understand. And the power of understanding that all knowledge is truly within you, that is a powerful, potent gift. And it's true. And I was literally, that was one of the things that came forth when I was doing the meditation before the big meditation. It was the fact that literally through the Father, which is mind, and the Mother, which is your ability to perceive it, and then the Christ is the solar complexes in you. That's where you get to feel it and manifest it. So it's like through this Trinity, you literally are a creator, and you're, as that spark or that little piece of creator that's inside of you, it's a part of the whole part of creation. So within that fractal or that spark or that piece contains the whole. This is what the Jesus Yeshua thing was discussing when he was talking about the mustard seed, how that the entire universe is held within the mustard seed, because within that fractal of that seed is the template of the entire cosmos. He was teaching us quantum physics.
Yep. That's it. You got it.
Yeah, so this is like we're learning truth, and the truth is this is all mental. It's all mind.
Mind created universe.
Correct. And when we can understand, instead of mind control, when we flip the switch and we reverse the polarity, it will be controlled mind.
Yep.
You will have ultimate control over your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions, and your emotions.
You're a popular woman tonight.
Aw, I love you guys. So much.
Yes, we got some good people here, sure.
Oh my gosh, my heart just went exploded with love. I was like, oh, I love you guys. Like, for reals, I just felt that so deeply. It was bitching.
It's humbling. It truly is.
Yes, it is. Greatest gift ever is you guys.
All right, you ready to continue?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Self-inflicted harm is created by ourselves. To the proportionate degree we believe we are separated from the universal Father, universal consciousness, that we are mortal. Do not expect the people in the cults of government or religion to enlighten the people to the principles of spiritual truth. It would undermine their power and purse. Even if they knew, they would not tell. When you have uncluttered the connection, you have opened up a channel from the conscious mind through the subconscious mind, by which you can have a two-way flow of information and communication with the superconscious mind, which is always connected to the universal consciousness. Knowing you are truth and in universal consciousness, you can remove the apparent cohesive power of the illusion or hologram, which is manifested in what you see around you. You can do this by infusing strong emotional energy of love into the thought form you want altered or transmuted, and know it is done. This includes disease, poverty, evil, error, unhappiness, or any other thing or concept you may want to have changed. Some healers do this even without even knowing why it works. Healing is often opened up to you in stages as you grow. Visualization and the power of the mind is very powerful. Is that really the whole chapter?
Wow.
Wow. That's what I'm saying. Well, that was a quickie.
Yeah, it was.
Did I miss something? Okay. Well, anyway, on to chapter 19.
That was an awesome chapter too. Right?
I like how we're starting to get into the healing now. I swear,
Yes.
I've never said consciousness and creator this many times in my life. It starts getting tongue twisty.
Oh, I know, right? You read very well, Brian. Very well. I love listening to you read. It's
I
awesome.
feel like I'm stumbling.
You're not. You do awesome. Awesome.
Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. Healing can be done in many different ways, and it is simple when the mind is right. The error can be removed, and it can be permanent if the patient quit doing it, what he did to get the error in the first place. Then as now, we have to learn the truths and principles of nature, our universe. Our success as healers are best when we know we are the one with the patient and the universal consciousness. Then we are the law. Our word and thought are law. Disease starts in the mind by usually showing up in the etheric body. First, as a dual function of frequency and vibration of thought, and changes in polarity and the electrical charge in the physical body cells are affected. This alters the strength and the color of the bioelectric magnetic field so it can be observed. In fact, this will be very accurate and effective diagnostic tool in the future. It is already starting to be used in a small way by natural health care providers in countries outside the USA, and it is here now too.
Yep.
It is very cheap to operate, so it will take a while before it catches on in the U.S. There's no money in it. To correct an illness, all bodies affected by the error, physical, mental, etheric, astral, and spiritual bodies must be healed. Spiritual healing by the universal consciousness will automatically do all that. Anything else may only heal one part of the whole. If the remaining of your system still has an error or an illness, it may inflict the whole system again. If we are asked to help in healing someone, we should explain to them how it will work and then do it right away. That is when the need and the attention is the greatest. We must see that there is no fear in their mind. Fear is one of the greatest blocks of high vibration through thought energy, and that's why they keep us in fear all the time. Know you are the one who needs the healing. For starters, you can close your eyes and visualize the universal consciousness as bright white light flowing from your heart chakra to the person in need of healing. Flood the diseased organ, area, or the person, or what is to be healed with this bright white light of the universal Father's love. We must put a strong feeling of love and emotion into it. When you feel there's enough healing energy in the other person, know the error is corrected. It is done. Read more about transferring the bright white light of love later in this book. Later, when you have attained more spiritual capacity, healing is automatically by your will of thought.
That is so profoundly true. And look, we got to see that white light in the Schumann.
I was thinking that too.
That's so awesome. I'm like, the synchronicity is just super amazing.
I'm telling this. There was a reason that I wanted to bring this out to everybody. I knew it would resonate with a lot of people.
It's awesome.
All right, you and the person with the error or ailment are one in universal consciousness as spiritual beings with no separation and limitations. At that time, you join your mind with his or hers just by your will. The ailment is transmuted to pure light and good health is restored. Have you ever heard about spontaneous healing? Ask any medical doctor about it, and they will tell you it is real, but they do not know what it is or what causes it. To them, it's just one of those mysteries.
They can't understand it because they cannot grab a hold of that energy because it's invisible.
Yep.
And that's the true source, is it's invisible. And these powers are so, I think they're so small that they're in everything, and love activates it. It's amazing.
Truth in Me says it's quantum healing. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Exactly. Quantum healing. Yes. Exactly.
Yes, Steve, it is the same as mind over matter. It's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's our mind that's creating this matter anyway.
Yes, I was just going to say that, right? It's the mind creating the matter. So, yes, that's so funny. You stole those thoughts right out of my head.
That happens a lot here lately, I'm telling you. All right, so on to chapter 20. Yeah, I'll read that one. Okay. Chapter 20. Evil has been the big scare by the religions for millennia. That's the truth. And it has worked very well. Evil always seems to express itself more severely and aggressive because that is what we expect it to do. In that regard, in a mind-created universe, evil is also mind-created and an illusion. When the mind is weak and mostly concerned with the physical existence and religion, the mind-created thought forms of the lower vibrations that express themselves as evil may have great influence and perceived power. It has no spiritual power of its own except for the perceived power it may be given by your mind. The home of evil is in your subconscious mind, where it originates in dormant or continues running mind memory programs. You, as the universal consciousness, can not only remove evil, but also cause its disintegration and transmute it to pure light. The Christian Church, as many other religions, has been telling us for 1,678 years, when the first draft of the religious text that later became the Bible was written, that if we sin, we will go to hell. Maybe there's a little more to that story. The meaning of the word sin is one of the most misunderstood words of all time. The first New Testament was written in Old Greek, and in that language, the word sin meant to miss the aiming point, to miss the mark, used to describe an archer missing the target. Even today, we use the expression, "you missed the point," when someone does not understand. What the original writings meant was, don't miss the point, or you will not achieve enlightenment. With other words, the worst you can do was to miss the point and not understand, or not try to advance spiritually. The church being what the church is, it wanted power and control over the people. So they introduced an interpretation which would cause fear. You know the rest of the story.
Yes.
Same thing goes for hell. The word hell is a derivative translation of an old Hebrew word for garbage dump. It came from the concept that both the Roman and Jewish government took the bodies of executed criminals, rapists, murderers, thieves, etc., out to the garbage dump outside of Jerusalem and burned them. So the learned people at the church meeting at Constantinople, now Istanbul, Turkey, in the year 325 thought this would be a good way to scare the people into following their directives. They wrote it into the compilation of the religious text, telling the people that if they are not good and obey the laws, God's laws, they will go to hell and burn. The mostly ignorant masses of people almost 2,000 years ago would believe almost anything the messengers of God told them. Hell replaced the concept of the underworld, where all the bad spirits would go. The underworld had replaced the concept of the lower world, which had the same stigma in earlier times than that. The concept of the lower world came from Sumer and the Sumerians. It meant the lower part of Egypt and the northern part. Their gods at the time, Enlil, Enki, and Crew, told people that it was not a good place to go. There, they would be enslaved forever. So you see, it's all about the control. And it has worked for over 100,000 years. If we should believe the Sumerian tablets, in fact, I'm getting that it is a lot longer than that. To be more accurate, 299,000 years since the atom was created. A little love, because I love you all unconditionally. Be the frequency you want to receive. Have a good night.